Okay. Great. Well, appreciate folks joining for another beautiful Saturday morning here in Paradise. It's Carol and I just got out walking the dogs, and it's nicer. What would you say, Carol? About 5-10 degrees cooler than yesterday so far. You're muted.
Yes, it was very comfortable. Nice change.
So, but we ran home to do this, and going to start with some more old home movies. For those of us that work for Disney, in particular the ones that worked in the building of Disneyland, or Disney World rather, 1971 was a very interesting time because the park opened, everything was brand new, and not everything was finished. Well, let me just get out of my mail so it doesn't keep dinging here as it goes on. So what I have here is a roll of, actually it was 3 large rolls of film, last about 17 minutes, and it was taken the first month or two that Disney World was open. So we're going to see some things that are not yet built, a lot of construction fences and, like No Space Mountain and odds and ends like that. So let me just get that ready here. 1 second. Share screen. Optimize for video clip. And I'm not going to share. And some of these things I've put music to, and others have not. So I'm just going to do without the music today. So everybody see the screen, I hope. And let me get started here. So we're driving along. We've got our brand new Mercedes, and we're having a great time. I got a real kick first time I went down to Florida to see that you had roads like this. You can just pull off the road and go right to the beach. Because in New York, we would park and walk 1,000,000 miles across the sand at Jones Beach, and here there were beaches right at your fingertip. It was great fun. So it was also great to see empty highways without factories along the side of them and billboards and everything, that you see on the Jersey Turnpike and some of the others. And there's our first sign for Kissimmee, which I imagine lots of people were learning to pronounce, and that it was not Kissimmee. And 192, we're going to take the turn. And again, I remember being amazed the first time I went when you saw the sign, "Welcome to Disney World," and then you kept driving and driving and driving. It was so big. So we're here at the Ticket and Transportation Center. Everybody's going in, but I hope nobody wanted to go in the canoes today. They're not open. No biometric readers, no pass scanners and all the rest of it. Just the technology of the time, a turnstile and somebody stamping your ticket.
A complete lack of crowds. My God.
Yeah, that was the problem when it first opened. The attendance was so far down that people were saying, "Oh my God, what have we done? We built it and they didn't come." But luckily, about 3-6 months into it, right after the Christmas season, things really started exploding. But yeah, the first month's worth of numbers were really dismal.
Do you know what month this was? Because people seem to be dressed kind of warm.
October or November. I don't know which of the two was. It was not into, it just opened on October 1st. And so it was October, November, because the Christmas decorations are not up yet. But when this comes into the station, we go off and take the tour around. We'll see more of the monorail coming up at Polynesian, the future site of the Grand Floridian, and finally we're at the Magic Kingdom. This was all shot on this was on Super 8 film stock. So you're outside and it's all tantalizing close. The Magic Kingdom, no population numbers up there. They didn't go up for the first year. The first of the many variations of the floral Mickey. And we're finally there. We're getting to see the big cheese himself. Golf Hospitality House in the background. And everybody's using the sidewalks instead of just walking down the middle of the street like everybody does today, which is why they can't keep the vehicles running very often. And it's 12 noon, it looks like, by the clock. So we're right here for the middle of the day, and off we go. Looking back in the other direction past the Emporium. Cake decorator. Imagine after a while she just tuned out everybody staring through the windows at her. I get a kick of the kid walking down the track in the middle of the street. And here come the characters. Major Mike, the band leader. It's interesting when you look at this and see how much the parades have changed. You know, back then you could just take the characters, a marching band, a couple of vehicles, and that was a parade. Today you have to have multi-million-dollar floats and high-tech displays and all sorts of other things. But you know, for all of the people that had just seen Disneyland on television, to actually be out there and see the characters right in front of you was obviously a big thrill. You also see characters like Flower there, the skunk. I haven't seen Flower in one of the Disney parks forever.
Bill, when they do these parades, the characters, are there anybody watching them, like supervisors or anyone in the crowd that they would have to answer to?
Yeah, there's a lead walking along with them. Make sure that the character, you know, God forbid, doesn't pass out from the heat or anything, or have an idiot come out and you know, do anything bad. So there's supervisors out there, and it's more for the character protection as opposed to, you know, that they'll also watch if they do anything dumb. You know, they'll talk to them about it. But the fountains, I thought the entrance to Tomorrowland was wonderful, and when they turned off the water in later years, I thought it lost a lot of the majesty. But again, the character leads are there mostly for the character protection as opposed to supervision. Some of this goes a little out of focus at times. It's not the scanner, it's just the way it was originally shot. Sometimes they didn't have the focus racked in just right. But again, well, this just brings back the sound of this thing roaring down, and on a hot day, the mist going across the bridge into Tomorrowland was very, very welcome.
On a windy day, that could get you very, very wet too.
Yeah, and it was welcome too.
Uh-huh.
So we're at the tree house, obviously. Gonna enjoy that. Still the Swiss Family tree house. I don't think that ever changed in Florida. And looking around Adventureland, the Tomorrowland Terrace, the Sunshine Terrace. Go get your orange juice and meet Orange Bird. Walkway over there that would take you over to Adventureland, some of the shops. Imagine whoever took these probably didn't live in an area that had palm trees, because I know if I go someplace, I'm not going to get fascinated by palm trees. But back in that period of time, I'm sure a lot of people was the first ones they had seen. Crystal Palace Restaurant, themed after a World's Fair element for all of us World's Fair fans. This shows, coming up in a second, the original bridge into Liberty Square. And it had to be taken out and redone because that height of the bridge was too sharp an angle for parade floats to go over. So it was one of the things that, you know, you learn by doing, that you either put a giant big motor in the floats or you change the bridge. So they changed the bridge. And the original Castle forecourt. Hold on to them tight. Then you see, you know, footage like this. The guy must have liked the rock work. So You know, for all the people that built fake rocks at Disneyland and Disney World, your work is appreciated. Unfortunately, did not get the beautiful mural off to the side here. But the crowds are picking up. We're going to see some of the vanished parts of the park in a moment. This area has been rebuilt and the stage changed. Let's go for a ride. Can't wait to get up. She's doing the up button and hoping it's going to go soon. There we go. I haven't been on Dumbo in years. Every time we go to the park, the line is just so long. And there's one of the departed parts, the Skyway. Sad to see that they were gone. They were a great way to get some views of the park and get off the beat. This again is blurry, didn't focus it too well, but left this in. You can see everybody went to right up top of the kill boats, which is what caused their ultimate demise. When the wind came up, they were top heavy, and then one of them flipped over at Disneyland, and they had to take it out. But that was part of the problem, is that people started getting heavier as time went by. The load got heavier up top, and over it went. No covered waiting line for the Haunted Mansion. Was talked the other day about how people from California didn't understand the amount of heat, sun that people were going to be waiting for in Florida. So whether it was that, or there just wasn't the money or the time to build some of the other elements that came in. But things like the teacups were originally not covered. Burning Settler's Cabin. And it's pretty nice when you look at the forestry here to realize that, you know, all this was swampland pretty much. Oh, this is interesting. The peaceful Indian village is absolutely deserted. No Indians living in the village because they didn't have time to finish the AA figures and get them installed. So the boy that stands on the canoe, his dog, all the Indians are not there. If you have still photos like I do taken from the train or the boat, you can see the electrical outlets and connection boxes that are out there waiting for the figures to be installed, but they weren't out there for the beginning.
Bill, the burning cabin, how was that done?
Propane.
Okay, and yeah.
Yeah, done by gas jets. Unlike the Pirates of the Caribbean, where it's done with plastic sheets and lights, it was real flame coming out at the cabin.
Right.
Yeah, the cabin was actually mostly plaster. Some of it was steel.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was not made of wood.
Right, right.
You know, what's nice about this is we don't have to endure any humidity, right? So Brer Bear, I had a friend that did that, said it was one of the worst costumes ever because the weight of that head is just pulling you forward the entire time. Unfortunately, in some spots, the backlighting, you know, blew out the elements in front. I can hear those drums in my head. Oh, we're off to the Grand Prix Raceway. this sort of film, when it goes blurry, you think the scanner is acting up, and then you go and you put it under a loop and a magnifying glass and realize he just didn't get it quite right focused. Remember, don't bump the car in front of you.
There's always some kid doing 2 miles an hour, slowing the whole
Yeah.
group down.
Nice hot polyester suits and lots of gas fumes and everything. That was a ride when I had to work in the park for cross utilization days. I did not volunteer for that one. For those who don't know what cross utilization is, on very busy periods, they would take you and take you out of your office. They walk in like the old British Navy chain gangs, and they would walk in and just impress you in the service. Everybody, come with me. Take you, put you in a costume, and then the next thing you'd be working to put people on, for example, on and off the submarines, or working in sometimes a fast food place making French fries or whatever. So you learned after a while which ones, and they said, does anybody know how so and such works? You volunteered for the ones you wanted to work on and did your best to stay away. I thought I was being clever that because I was based at the studio, I didn't have to have a Disney World short haircut. My hair was actually over the top of my ears. And I thought, oh, this would be great. They won't put me any place that I don't want to be. And they said, oh, the hats for the Davy Crockett Explorer canoes will cover your ears. And after paddling people around the island for a day, I went and got a haircut, so I didn't have to do that again. I just absolutely love the design of this ride. The Nautilus is going out there, or would that be Nautili, going out on the lagoon. I mean, it's a great design that Harper Goff did for the movie that they transferred over here. I thought these look, so on an eerie or distinctive as they cruised across the lagoon there.
It actually wasn't seaworthy though, right, Bill?
Well, the boats were seaworthy. The problem was the lagoon leaked, and it leaked right into the wardrobe department, which was right next to it down below. So every time I went down, and the office I worked in when I was in the tunnel was next to wardrobe, and we were all trying to figure out if the thing burst, would wardrobe absorb the blast, or would it come into our office as well? So it was unfortunate that they took it out. It was a very expensive ride to maintain, but I still think it was a classic. I get a kick here, the orange Mickey Mouse ears. Don't recall seeing these in many other vintages until the new Mickey Mouse Club came along in 1976, and that was one of the colors the Mouseketeers wore. So now the folks are coming near the end of their day. There's time for one last train ride. They're going around. The guy that just jumped on the train was wearing a set of Mickey Mouse ears, silver mouse ears, and he jumped on the train at a pretty good clip. I was trying to figure out who he was or why he was out there. And the monorail coming in to take us home.
What mark was this? Mark 4?
Beats me what numbers they had for them. So let me stop this here. I'll get back to another. I have another picture, another reel of Disneyland, Disney World in '72. I just finished restoring this morning. But for the other ex-Disney folks here, did you guys ever get stuck doing cross utilization? Brock or Glenn?
Am I on?
Yes.
They didn't call it that. The only time I had to go back into the park was when they had a strike.
Oh, yeah.
And we went down at one time and spent the day filling up batteries on the electric parade floats. And we kept using gallons of water. And the guy said, I don't understand. The guy that's on strike, this was his major job. And then we had fun taking the floats and driving them around the back lot. And
Yeah.
another time I ended up back in the magic shop because I had worked in Merlin's magic shop for 3 years while I was getting my, start. And so they put me back in there to do that. And that was fun to get back into that.
What I liked about the strike was that they made us work all day at the studio and then drive down to Disneyland and work all night at Disneyland. And we were expected to be back at the studio at 8 o'clock the next morning for all, of course, the exact same pay that we normally got. I've got some nice pictures of Carol working in which called the Mexican themed shop there in Adventureland. So,
Bill, you
yeah.
you didn't figure out the right way. You cut your hair shorter. What you needed to do was move it down to your face. Then you have to work at Disneyland. Because I had a beard and mustache, and there was no way they were going to do that.
Well, it's actually at one point I had grown a mustache, and they said, "Oh, you could be a character." Well, being a character in Florida in the summer was that was a no, no. So, but yeah, cross utilization was actually a very good thing, and they did quite a bit of it. But it was weird. They would walk in and just devastate an entire department, all 50 if you come with me. But it was great because I think it was the first time a lot of management actually saw what the hourly people were going through with the daily abuse, and I think it made them a little bit more sympathetic. So it was interesting. Well, let me grab another reel of film here. 1 second. I will get it ready, and we will jump ahead another year until November of 1972. And let me just get this ready here. This is another roll of Super 8 movie. Let's see, share screen. And we're going to see, again, some vanished parts of the park that were kind of fun. So this is a shorter roll, but we're going to start here. We got our Flight to the Moon. And it's sponsored by Monsanto, America the Beautiful, the 360-degree film. And then how about If You Had Wings, a flight of fancy through the world of Eastern Airlines. I was really hoping when I started screening this for the first time that there was some interior shots, which I do have on another reel that I'm having some issues restoring because the lighting was so bad. But If You Had Wings was a great thing. I mean, right now that song's going through my head. If you had wings, had wings, had wings. It was a great example of multimedia presentations with those, the various screens, the cutouts, the music. I thought it was a fantastic ride. In the back, you can see a construction fence. That's what they decided we need to put a roof over the teacups. It's been open a year and it's not working out too well in the rain, so let's put a roof over it. Skyway again. Construction fence in the back there. That's where they're going to be putting in the Carousel of Progress. Everything is still pretty new. Looks like the moat was empty that particular day. And when they brought out the characters for this particular day or event, they went all out. I mean, they're having quite a crowd of them up there in the castle. The Aristocats, my favorites, Chip and Dale. The characters from the Three Caballeros there. Again, ones you don't see too often. Excuse me. And I don't know who the young ladies are getting their flowers there. If anybody knows that, I'd love to know. Donald's leading the band, having a great time. More subs. Having come from a real submarine background, I always got a kick out of them. More of Thumper, it's not Thumper, sorry, Flower out there in the park. They're enjoying entertaining the crowds out there at the Fantasy Fair stage. So let me hop over to Disneyland now. And hang on one second here. Stop sharing. Let me hop over to Disney World, Disneyland rather. And we're going to go back to 1967. So let me share the screen here. So we're hopping all across country, and you don't even need to go through the TSA checkpoints. So we're full service here. This is standard 8. It's not Super 8. You can definitely see the difference in quality that a standard 8 and Super 8 makes. Also, a lot of the home movie cameras back at that point in time didn't have the world's best set of glass optics on them. Here comes the boss. Doesn't the Nautilus look a lot better than those subs? My friend Mike Clark would hate some of this with the clips of 2 seconds of length. I was looking at another movie that somebody took at my old Boy Scout camp, and the guy tried to get every kid in the picture for 1 second at a time. It's really jarring on the eyes. Building over there on the left side, just disappearing out of sight, was a temporary building built when they were redoing Tomorrowland. Again, this is 1967. So they built a temporary AT&T facility so that people could talk on picture phones to people at Expo 67 in Montreal. There's more of the cabin burning away. And here's what the Indian Village looks like once you populate it. Of course, this is the Disneyland one, but it's the same basic design, boy and his dog out in the canoe. Train through nature's Wonderland, going past Cascade Mountain. Something was finger looking good. This is where you wish it was sound. We're off to New Orleans Square for those that are not as familiar with Disneyland. Let's go visit the treehouse. Don't worry, ladies, they all have their trunks on. Yes, I'm a would-be Jungle Cruise skipper. It's okay unless they're wiggling their ears. famous House of Tomorrow. My least favorite ride at all the parks. I do not like getting spun in high-speed circles. Matter of fact, I don't think I ever rode this in Florida, so it's probably the only attraction down there I didn't ride. Indian dance ring, taken out to put bear country in. Nature's Wonderland. They are 4 dinosaurs made a brief appearance. Here is Jose the Barker bird that they had to take out of the area. He was, as you walked into Adventureland, he was out there trying to get you to go in to see the tiki birds, and it jammed up everybody in the area that would just stand there and watch him over and over and over. So they eventually had to take him out for crowd control. This is all the pre-show area outside the tiki birds. And we're done with that one. I realized for Disney World, I'm going to hop back there for a second. Online, I've been chatting and posting about the souvenir films that they used to sell at the Disney parks, and they're really great to get because you get a lot of footage that the average person can't get. But they unfortunately put them on absolutely crap film stock that turn red. It's whether a question of it turned slightly red or bright red or super red. But this is a film here I'm going to show that a friend of mine had scanned. I didn't do the scanning of this, but he had it done by an outside company that was not able to do anything to the color. I've been playing with it, and I'll show you what it looks like. This is the Vacation Wonderland at Walt Disney World. And then after I show it, I'll give you a brief example of what it was like and how you can fix some of these things on the computer. So let me get this ready and share a screen. Now they sold these both in silent and what you call it, sound versions. This is the silent version. It gives us a nice view of how the park looked. Again, everything pretty much brand new a year or so after it opened. The poly. We'll see in a moment the sadly gone lobby. We're going to walk through the doors now. When you walked in there, this had a particular feel and aroma to it, of all the moisture from all the potted plants and the waterfalls and everything. It was really spectacular. You go into it today, it's just nothing. And back again, this is when the lake could be used to its full advantage. Here, obviously, we have a pool. But back then, the lake shouldn't have to worry about alligators and eating amoebas and everything else. So all sorts of boating and swimming and other fun. Here they're out in the 7 Sea Lagoons. This was a short-lived, about a year, maybe 2-year thing where Disney tried to compete with Cypress Gardens doing a water ski show. Then management realized we're not charging tickets to see this. It costs extra money. People can go see it someplace else. Let's put the money into Disney specific type things. Being a lousy water skier, I can only imagine how hard it would be to do this as dressed as Pluto. Monorail looks like it's going to click good turn. Now, how many of us did not just hear all the monorail doors open and now the shutting sound is there the unloading and loading? You can't see Disney World from the air these days because of flight restrictions, so no more helicopter rides. I have lots of still pictures I took from a helicopter. I just wish I had taken movies back then. And someday this will be the Grand Floridian, where we just were. And the obligatory mariachi band, which appears about every footage Disney did back then. Mary Blair's beautiful mural up on the Grand Canyon. All the shops that were there back then, that the lobby was very open area, and since then they've crammed it just full of shops and stuff. Swimming pools. We had a terrible accident there where a guy dove into the pool thinking, oh, it was called a bob around. The guy dove into the pool thinking the number 3 meant 3 meters deep, and it meant 3 inches, and ended up breaking his neck. So they had to fix that real fast. Southern Seas paddle boat. It was the nice thing going down there in an expense account. I could do things like water skiing and just charge it off to the mouse. Over one of the golf courses. That would be about my style. Bay Lake, Discovery Island. It was not open for anything at that point in time. A place real familiar to folks that were working down at Epcot when they would put you out here for months on end. Try Circle D Ranch. Fun in the Sun. Again, back when the lakes were open for use. And as they say in the travelogue, as night falls, we prepare to say goodbye to our beautiful destination. One of the campfires they had at the campgrounds. luau show over at the Poly. The electrical water pageant, which was great fun, and later gave way to the thought of doing the Main Street Electrical Parade. These are all on barges that were stored during the day on a canal. I'm going to go up to the top of the world. They used to have a great buffet up there for lunch during the day. Always enjoyed going there. And they would have name entertainers there. Different people would come and do singing acts, that sort of thing. And we say goodbye. Let me just show you real quickly how this looked. This is the example before. My friend again had it scanned, the versions on the left, and it was very, very red. So I made about 4 or 5 passes through the computer, start bringing back the blues and the greens and dampen down the reds and that. So it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it does show you can turn back some of this, some of the ravages of time on some of it. So let me just stop there.
Pretty impressive, Bill.
It's pretty amazing what the computer can do. There's no doubt about that. So we can take a look at, let's see, I've got one more here. Let's take a look at this one. This is another one of the souvenir films, 1974 for this one. This again was another red one that I used the computer to bring back the colors. And we'll see that, just from a period of time from 72 to 74, things are starting to show up like Space Mountain under construction, some of the other odds and ends. And this was almost solid red. So again, pretty amazing what the technology that we have out there, even at the home level. And the professionals that know what they're doing and have the real high end gear can do even more amazing stuff on it. But this like the green outfit the guy was wearing, you wouldn't have known it was green when you first looked at the film. This looks to be running a little slow, so I apologize for that. I don't know what's going on with it. Let's see if I can change the speed here. Just video. There is a setting somewhere I can change the speed and playback. Speed. Let's go a little faster. Get a kick out of this. If you look real closely, there's a rowboat tied up to the dock there over on the right-hand side. Something bad show, but they managed to capture it quite well. Mr. Johnson's going to take us for a launch. The trick is when you're trying to dial down the reds on these things, you can't take out things that are red, like the red the red readouts that are in mission control, or the red cars, that sort of thing. I was never, ever, ever able to get them to let me scuba dive in the lagoon. I always wanted to do that.
Bill, are you a certified diver?
Carol and I haven't gone in years. Oh, there's a swan boat going around, but yeah, we were both certified NAUI advanced divers, and I brought my card down there just in case I could talk them into it. No such luck.
If you ever get to Atlanta, the aquarium where they have the whale sharks, you can do a dive encounter with them.
No, haven't been there. You know, they had an experience. You could do it at Epcot at the Living Seas, but that one they wanted to charge, and I didn't want to pay. So I figured I'd go in the real ocean, see the real fish, and didn't have to pay the real money. But I just always wanted to do the 20,000 Leagues Lagoon, so never got to it. This is what's nice with these home videos. You get the lighting. Most of the home videos of things like Small World are dreadful. Here, you know, they've obviously done the professional lighting. What's actually interesting here, you look at this and everybody's wearing the winter coats and everything. That was shot for the 1964 film, the Disney Goes to the World's Fair. So they take it, make you think you're in Florida, but that was actually shot on a soundstage in Burbank with all the lighting conditions being just right. Mickey Mouse Review, fantastic show. So sorry when they took this and sent it to Tokyo. I was glad to see it in Tokyo, but I believe it's been closed there since my last trip.
Just the three figures in the Mexico exhibit.
Yeah.
Cotton out.
There's Flower. Looks like Flower and Thumper spent a lot of time together. No, thank you. Dave making the rounds. This is the sort of thing you say, why are they making this a movie? Because the characters aren't even moving around. They could have done something more to make it more lively. Ah, we've seen progress. A covered area for the Haunted Mansion. I still miss the bears. I should never have taken them out of here at Disneyland. As you see, the crowds have built up since the early days of '71. What's interesting is online, there's people that would dissect each one of these scenes to tell you, oh, no, that's footage from Disneyland, or, you know, you can recognize, you know, some little idiosyncrasy. The two Haunted Mansions, for example, have different organs in the ballroom scene, and people go back and forth about where they swap footage from one and put it in another. Snakes, it had to be snakes. It's interesting with some of these videos, particularly the ones of Disneyland. They shot them at different cameras at different times over the years, and the sometimes the framing is off because these things were meant to be projected at a 4:3 ratio on a standard film projector, and the film gate would not show the left and right sides of the film completely. So they didn't bother in some cases to optically zoom in to fill the whole frame. They just worried about where they needed to have their so-called safe projection area. What I've done is I've overscanned these so you get the extra footage that was at the left and right that normally doesn't show up. And in some cases, it would switch back and forth to the improperly framed part. I'd have to go scene by scene and digitally edit those, zoom them in so you don't end up with the mistaken frame size, a little jarring in the eyes. So that is it for Disneyland and Disney World. I don't know if I had any new ones of the World's Fair for the World's Fair fans. So hang on here 1 second. I've got one here that I don't think I've shared yet. If I showed it last week or another week or so, sorry about that. But let me pop this up. This will be late 1964. And let me just share a screen. Come on, share screen. There we go. You can, again, date some of these things by the, you know, whether or not the Belgian village is open, things along that line. Then you can start seeing the coats and stuff break out during winter. This was shot very, very dark, so lighting it up, you can see it brought a lot of grain and noise into the picture. There's Joey up top waving. I'm so jealous, Joey, to picture you and the flag up there.
It was quite an experience.
Was it windy that day?
No, it was just very calm. The only thing is you can hear the iron moaning,
Yes.
you know, so that was a little bit unsettling.
Yeah, and the cables kind of clank. Were the elevator cables still in there at the time?
Yeah, they're still up along the side, and a lot of them have been taken down already.
Yeah, because they would clank in the wind, and you know, then you,
Oh yeah,
yeah, you hear the. Most people don't realize that the platforms are suspended from above, so they kind of move and rock a little, and
yeah, they do, and you could feel the deck that you're on sort of rumbling a little bit. So
yeah.
that's a little, but they're very strong. I mean, the bolts are like huge that they used.
Yeah, they're huge, but they're also 60 years old, sitting in
Yeah.
a salt, you know, close to saltwater environment. So I'm glad
Well,
they're refurbishing them.
That's why my wife told me to, if you're going to take anything, you should take it on the way down.
Oh, I hope you didn't take any of the bolts.
No.
We'll just spend a little time up here at the tower, since it is the highest spot of the fair. And again, this is how you can start dating it. You can say, okay, the Belgian village is there. And another shot, you'll see a Greyhound escorter go by. So you can say, okay, Belgian village means late 64 or 65. Escorter means 64. So you can start trying to narrow some of it down. Also things like the tower colors of the Skyway ride, various odds and ends. Outside of Africa. And this is where the Ray Dashner tapes are great, because he's got all this stuff, you know, all the guy's spiel and the drum pounding and everything recorded live on tape. Astral Fountain was just huge, just amazing how it's all in that water. Look how high that's shooting up. And we make a visit into the Belgian village. And that's it. So I think we'll end there. Again, I know it's just to bore people to tears with home movies. You know, it's like your Uncle Floyd calling you over and saying, "Have watch the movies." So let me see what's here in chat. But any particular memories it brought back for people? Miss, show the swan. The swan boats were really interesting. If you watch them in one video, there's two sets of wheels and they're moving independently because there was a guide wire that came down the waterway, and there was a magnetic vane that came out and picked up the electric current going through the wire and would steer the boat back and forth. It would also, if it failed, which it failed a lot, then the gal could steer the boat. But that's why you're watching, and as she's going by, she's not touching anything, but the wheels are going back and forth as the system is keeping the boat on track. So let's see. Beth, never stayed in the cabins. Yeah, the campgrounds are, there are people that absolutely love the campgrounds. You know, an entire Facebook group on nothing but the campgrounds. And I always enjoyed going out there. I enjoyed going out to, you know, go canoeing out there or taking the, again, I like horses. So I'd go out to the ranch, go for a horse ride, that sort of thing. And then in the nighttime, they have the campfires, you know, go off and make s'mores, and then they would show a classic Disney film out on a big outdoor screen. It was really, really nice. Then they had a show that I really liked. Carol and I went to a couple times, the Hoop-de-Doo Review out there. Anybody go to that? See a few nodding heads. So yeah, I always enjoy that. And plus, it was all the fried chicken you could eat and all the apple pie you could eat. How could you not like it? So it was funny. Carol and I were down there one time, and we were on a trip with a guy from Price Waterhouse doing a project together. And this guy, Carl Spencer was his name. He was a real cut up. And after the show, we went backstage to meet the people that were working in the Hoop-de-Doo Review. And then, yeah, it really looks different with the wigs off and everything. But one of the things they had at the Hoop-de-Doo Review was all the sangria you could drink. So we were sitting in the dressing rooms talking, and then Carl disappears, and he comes back from the kitchen with a jug of sangria in each hand. And they're, "Oh my God, we can't drink that in the dressing rooms, and we're going to get fired." And he goes, "We're management, drink." So we all sat there in the dressing rooms. He was quite the clown. Carol had some experiences with Carl, right?
Yeah.
Now, Carol looks really innocent, doesn't she? I mean, everybody look at Carol. Isn't that the epitome of innocence? Well, Carl liked to play practical jokes. So we decided we would play a practical joke on Carl. And we were staying at the Contemporary Resort at the time. And he kept doing all sorts of terrible things to me, so I would do terrible things to him. So on this particular day, we got the master key to the hotel, gave it to Carol, and gave her a bag full of about 12 boxes of Jell-O. So she goes in and she starts filling his toilet with Jell-O, right? So Carl now realizes he forgot his glasses or something. He's got to go back up to the room to get his glasses on. I go, "Oh my God, what are we going to do?" Carol's in there filling the toilet with Jell-O. So he goes up and he opens the room, and Carol is there, and like, you know, and he's like, "What are you doing in the room?" She goes, "I was hot. I just wanted a place to lie down." And he, "Oh, okay." So we went off to go to work for the day, and he came back at night, and now his toilet's full of Jell-O. It turned out, though, you needed about 24 boxes, not 18. So it was more soup than full Jell-O. But he was a cut up. So we did a number of other things to him. So after a while, we broke him of his habit of, because my practical jokes on him were worse than his on me, and he realized he wasn't going to win, so he stopped. But it was fun. One of the things you do down at Disney. The Boy Scout in me is showing. Yeah. No, we had fun. It was really nice because sometimes we stayed at the Contemporary. A lot of times they put us out at Bay Hill, the country club outside of town. And I would stay in Dick Nunes's house when Dick wasn't in town. We had a pontoon boat out back. We go and cruise up and down the Bay Lake chain of lakes, and they were just, great times when somebody else was paying the bills. Does anybody have their own movies of Disneyland or Disney World? Anybody have videos of Disneyland or Disney World? Oh, Wayne, you have videos?
Yeah, from probably the 90s, Disney World, maybe 80s. Like most Sony camcorders from the time, they eventually failed drastically, and I couldn't even play them back at one point, and I had to go out and buy a used Sony camcorder just so I could play them and transfer them to DVD.
Yeah, I have a lot of video that I just bought a deck to try to take some of them back. My parents got a big kick because I got into video very early, and I had a portable Betamax that you would wear over your shoulder, and it came with a big battery pack and a cable about yay thick that would go between that and the camera. And my dad would just shake his head, "Oh God, he's brought it out again." But there's pictures of me standing outside in Epcot, with the thing over my shoulder, and it recorded it to full-size beta tapes. So I've got those, and then I've got bag after bag of 8mm and high 8 and digital 8, and I've got to transfer all those over. So as you said, a lot of the camcorders, the capacitors went bad in them, and they don't play. I've got two that the last time I checked 6 months ago were still working, and I've got to start transferring like mad because I took videos like crazy. Like I said, I got into it with my portable Betamax. Then when 8mm came out, I didn't have to carry that 10-pound Betamax on my shoulder. I was just thrilled. Brock?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, that first film looked very clean, most of it, but when you were showing the section on the waterfalls in front of Tomorrowland, there was a lot of dirt in that one. Is that because of the motion of the water that it gets kind of considered by the computer to be part of that?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. That was also right near the end of one of the reels, and these things tend to get very dirty at the beginning or very dirty at the end because they're exposed. The center of the reel has air, and dirt and crap can get in there, and at the beginning too. So I cleaned them all manually, and those reels were pretty dirty. They were really I don't know where they were stored for a number of years, but they took. I think I had to go through 3 manual passes of cleaning them before I finally got to the point I felt they were okay. Then there was still a lot of stuff that just was not going to come off. There's some stuff you can use called Film Guard that says it will take off all dirt and debris, but it basically never dries out, and the film has to be stored in special conditions. And I didn't want to do anything, like that. So I then digitally remove the dirt. And as I mentioned the other day, what it does is it takes a frame, another frame, and a third frame, and looks for the middle frame, what popped up on that one that was not on the first one or the second one. And I think all the stuff is coming down so much there it couldn't take it out. If you also look at it, there's little blue spots on the thing that I think were the beginning of some mold elements that were showing up on the film. That, again, the color correction is trying to figure out what, it can kind of figure out this is sky, this is space, this is whatever. When that's all coming down, it says, I don't know what the hell this is. So it just, you can see a lot of blue spots, in there as well.
Yeah. The other comment I wanted to make when Joey was asking about the burning cabin, were you ever around the burning cabin at either Disneyland or Disney World? I mean, right next to it or anything?
Yeah, hotter than hell.
Oh yeah, it's amazing how it's not that much flame when you look at it, but you're standing, a few feet away from it, and you can feel your skin burning. I mean, it was amazing the amount of heat that came out of that stuff.
Yeah, I also found that even when they turned the gas off, because we were out there one time on Tom Sawyer Island here at Disneyland, they were doing some work. They turned the gas off or something. The building still stays hot for a period of time. It's
yeah.
sort of like baking a brick in the sun, the ceramic or whatever they use in there just absorbed it. But yeah, the other thing that got me too is that they were noisier standing near the cabin than you go by in the boat and you see the flames flickering. If you're out there when they're burning, you can hear them hissing more and the gas going off.
Yeah.
So, Wayne?
Yeah, I wanted to mention about taking video at Disney World. The first time I did it, I wasn't thinking about it until I got home and played the videos back. And it was really wonderful the way the ambient music got recorded on the video. A lot of other touristy places with no background music were, just dead by comparison.
Yeah.
And it makes me, kind of sad that we don't have any similar footage from the World's Fair with the background.
It's amazing what you can capture in some of these things. And, it is in hindsight wonderful if we only knew to go back then and, capture the stuff that we don't, would want to get today. That's why I love watching some of these old movies that, why did anybody take a picture of that? But I'm glad that they did. Now, I'm seeing in the chat that Ken has some videos, Eric has some videos. If you guys would like to show them on a future week, I would love to see them because I'm always looking for things I haven't seen and studied 9,000 times myself. So if I can twist your arms into sharing them some week. VHSC, that's a format I never got into, Eric. I think the Betamax came out. I was all set for that. Then I moved straight into, I think, Sony 8mm, but VHSC, I managed to skip that one.
Yeah, they actually belong to my wife's father's. He had the camcorder, and that was probably when I was introduced to that kind of like capturing video, vacation videos and such. Previous to that, my father, my father passed away couple decades ago, and so I'm realizing that I'm becoming my father, or I am my father, because he used to take a lot of 8mm and photos for back in the day. So I've inherited a bunch of the old family photo albums. I'm like, oh my God, there are so many photos. Like even for back then, you would just sparingly take them, right? Back in the 50s and 60s and such. But it feels like we have so many, and I think I've shared a few with you from the World's Fair when they visited back in the 60s. But yeah, I'm not sure if it's worth sharing, to be honest. I'll take a look. I've shared some stuff on Twitter. Beth has seen some of those, I'm sure. But I'll run those by you, and you can deem if it's worthy or not, those videos.
You can see it's a very friendly crowd. I was actually thinking, I did make one step. I went from the over-the-shoulder Betamax with the camera with the giant cable. I then switched to a Beta Movie. Remember when they first came out? Because it was interesting branding. You can get the Sony Beta Movie for X dollars, or the Toshiba Beta Movie for $3/4 X dollars, which was built by Sony but with the Toshiba name on it. So I was just as happy to pay 25% less. But I love that Beta Movie. I went all over the place with that and took movies. There's a reel I have on my YouTube channel of one of the Disney parades, Disneyland from 1980. And, people are like, oh my God, you got all 43 minutes of the parade. Yeah, I had an hour or so to go on the battery and I was able to get it. And again, it was this, sound and everything, the stuff that you just couldn't get. Tom, you got your hand up?
Just in that also started with the VHS recorder with the extra battery thing that you'd carry. And that would have been back in the early 80s. But then we have some really fun videos later on because I kept, transferring, when the 8mm and then the DVDs became available. But our youngest daughter got picked to light the Christmas tree in, the MGM studio. So that means she got to ride in Walt Disney's old electric car and, down the Hollywood and then to the tree where she got out, and they open up a chest. She grabs the magic dust out of the chest and throws it, onto the tree. And they asked her to make a wish, and I was so proud of her. She wished for world peace. And anyway, and then later on, I showed her the movie, and she yelled at me because I bounced around too much.
If you
And
were
then,
bouncing around, I'll show you a movie my son took that literally when I tried watching it, it gave me vertigo.
yeah. And then the other really fun thing that I was really glad I took was Roger Rabbit for Christmas. Roger Rabbit decides Santa Claus needs help. And so he brings him a replicating machine and replicates himself. And so there's like all these Roger Rabbits trying to help Santa Claus make toys. And of course, everything
I have a
went
video
haywire.
of that. Yeah.
You do too?
Yeah, that's one of the ones I remember shooting. I don't know where it is. Literally, I have a couple market bags sitting here full of unlabeled tapes. I'll have to find. But I remember the show, and it was just rabbit after rabbit after rabbit coming out. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I'd love to see that again. Same thing. I'm not sure where mine is either, but I know I have it.
I'll have to pull it out. I was just reading through the chats. Beth was at a show last week, and let me make you a co-host, Beth. You can share your swan picture and just fill people in on the swan boat saga.
Yeah, so I went to an event a couple of weeks ago called Retro Magic, and it was at the Contemporary. And one of the guests had bought a swan boat and a swan and had restored both of them. He didn't bring the swan boat, but he did bring one of the swans, and he had it sitting on a table, and it was a very popular photo op. So let me share my screen, and I'll show you the pictures of it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, let me see if I can share another one. Yeah, he did a really nice job restoring it. And he showed a little video about, or some slides, I guess, of the restoration of it. And when the Retro WDW guys have done these events before, they have eventually posted all the videos on YouTube. So I'm sure they'll do that this time too. I'm sure they're doing a little bit of editing before they post those. But if you get a chance, go out and watch it. His name is Jeffrey Snyder. And he just had an interesting story about how he acquired, I think he acquired the boat and the swan separately, but then had restored them both. But it was just beautiful. People loved seeing the swan.
That's really nice. It's yeah, they were very elegant watching them go around the lagoon there. The canal, the moat, whatever we want to call it. But again, took a lot of people, to run it compared to the amount of revenue they got out of it. And once they got out of the ticket, thing and went to the passport, everybody gets everything. Some of those things like the boats were doomed. Just reading through the chats, Ken was asking whether or not the campground is worth it. People still love it, Ken. As I mentioned, there's an entire Facebook group about the campgrounds, and people have their favorite campgrounds because they have the loops, the certain trails and the loops. And people which absolutely love this one group, and people coordinate their visits. I'm going to go down and stay in the Osceola Loop, and my friend's going to be at the so and such. And people have their favorite campgrounds that they go down and book them a year in advance to try to get down there. So I've not stayed there, haven't been to the campgrounds in years, but people are still fanaticy about it. And what a lot of them like is it's quiet at night as opposed to the hustle and bustle of the main park hotels and that. So something you can consider, but no air conditioning. Remember that. So just reading through the other chats here real quick. Adventureland footage makes me want a Dole Whip. Yeah. It's interesting. You can get a Dole Whip at some places that sell them these days. It's not the same when you have a Dole Whip that's not surrounded by tiki birds or jungles or things along that line. So you went over the Poly for a Dole Whip. Well, that's good. Okay. And Beth mentioned the Mark IV monorail is used from 71 to 89. So thank you for the info there. I'm just reading through everything else here. Oh, missed the plexiglass trees in the Contemporary. Yeah, me too, Don. The fourth floor lobby was just ideal. I mean, it was just so fanciful with all the, things that made no sense whatsoever, the plexiglass trees and lighting and everything in there, but it gave it a whole different ambiance that I think is missing today. Did they have resort shuttles to get you around when it opened? Yep, they've had that ever since day one. You could get from the campground, for example, over to the Magic Kingdom by boat, but they've had buses that would take you around and sometimes it got a little convoluted because if you wanted to get by boat, you could go from the campground to the Magic Kingdom to the Contemporary, which could take you half a day, and then the bus would just take you over there in a shorter period of time. So they had buses since day one. And again, I'm just scrolling down to the end here. Is anybody going to the Disneyana show next weekend in Southern California? I didn't even know there was one, Darren. Where is it?
If you go to Disneyana, fanclub.org, it's there. It's in Orange at the huge Hilton Hotel, is all I know. It's Saturday. There'll be panels with Bob Gurr, Terry Hardin, Kim Irvine, and Gurner Holt, with an award ceremony at the end. And then Sunday is the big show and sell.
Oh, great. Thanks for the info on it.
Yeah, and the show and sell I think is like $7 to get in, and of course it's the Disneyana, so there's probably a lot of good things, probably photographs and everything as well.
Just what I need, more stuff. And then Glenn mentioned you have a Super 8 film you'll be playing snare drum in a Woozle costume in Fantasy Parade in '69. Do you have that transferred, Glenn?
Actually, I shot a little bit of it off the screen for Craig McNair Wilson because he was the Geppetto, and we were trying to figure out if that was actually him. But it turned out that it wasn't.
Oh.
But no, I haven't really transferred it. It's just sitting in a can.
Well, if you want it done, I know a guy that can do it.
Yeah, I should take you up on that. I've got some other stuff I need to look at, but it's all Kodachrome and it's really nice. So it's not faded or anything.
Yeah, it's amazing. Some of the Kodachromes have held up so well. And unfortunately, the souvenir films, they use Eastman color. And I think they were rotting by the time you unpacked them. I mean, I've bought brand new, never out of the package films, open up and they're bright red. It's really unfortunate the dye they use, but almost every one of the it's actually, as I think about it, before Disney put them out themselves, they used another company called Hollywood Film Enterprises, and their films held up okay. And then Disney took over, they were a licensee. Disney took them over and put them out themselves and changed the film footage. So stuff from the 50s looks pretty good. The early 60s looks pretty good. When you get to about 64 or so, I think that's when Disney started doing the movies themselves. All of a sudden, the quality just falls right off the planet. It's really unfortunate. I have one of the Hollywood film ones around here somewhere. Where did I put that? 8mm, Disneyland. Yeah, did I show it the other day? A Day at Disneyland? Did I show that film? Well, see Day at Disneyland?
You posted it on Facebook, Bill.
Facebook, yeah, okay. Well, let me just
yeah, that was awesome.
let me pull it up here real quick, and you can just enjoy that. Again, this is done by a licensee, so Hollywood Film Enterprises. They were famous for the years of making the little, versions of the Disney cartoons, that sort of stuff. And then they took us out here for Day at Disneyland. This was slightly off in color, took a little bit of bringing back, but it was far, far better shape than the Disney ones that, came after it. I don't know if the sky was actually that color for the smog that we got at, Anaheim in those period of days. Shoe Shine Boys, a novelty act. This is outside the Opera House. The soldiers there from Babes in Toyland on either side. This was, I thought, really weird footage for a souvenir film, a guy sweeping the street. The original Tomorrowland, you can see was the Douglas Moon rocket. So that lets you start dating it. Had to be a very uncomfortable costume to wear with that glass ball on your head. The original Astro Jets. And there we go for the flying saucers. They didn't move too fast, did they? He's trying to get it going, get it going. And if you can't dazzle them with brilliant movement, throw a bunch of beach balls out and have everybody distracted by that. The round Skyway bucket just passing off to the side there.
Bill, what would they charge you for a film like this back then?
Back then, this was, I actually posted that online. I had the little catalog. This was a 200-foot reel, and they charged around, I think it was $17.95, something like that, which was pretty good money considering the admission to the park at this point in time was around $2.50. So, you know, $18 in $60. You can do the math and figure out what it was today. They were not cheap. They were not cheap at all.
No.
But it was a great way, again, to get footage that you couldn't get normally inside the sub, very dark. One of the fake mermaids. The underwater city crumbles around us in the undersea earthquake. I remember seeing that at the Van Eaton auction when somebody was buying that to take it home. What they would do is they would sell these things in various versions, a 50-foot version, a 100-foot version, 200-foot version. I don't think at this point in time any of these things were done in sound. 8mm sound is very uncommon. Super 8 sound is more common. But they release these in a whole variety of different sizes and lengths, and cut down extractions, that sort of thing. Different dwarf costumes that were used. So I got a kick here of the dwarf dancing. The famous feathered hats that every place sold in the 60s. The original Fantasyland. Looks like a pretty busy day, doesn't it? Off for a trip to the Storybook Canal. Motorboat cruise. I took my staff from London on the motorboat cruise one time. They just had an absolute ball, just being kids at heart. Everybody was just out there having a great time. I think that was one of the things they liked most about Disneyland when they came over to visit. Some of the footage will look very similar to what we just saw in Florida, because as I mentioned, sometimes they just lifted the footage from one park and put it into the souvenir film of another. Whatever that was really well shot. Wave goodbye, you'll never see them again. Now, if somebody has more time, skill, and imagination than me, they could put soundtracks to match these, for each of the various footages or whatever. But I will happily leave that to somebody else to do. I'm going to be staying up nights now, thinking about Glenn dressed as a woozle.
Yeah, I'll have to find that picture for you.
It's fun when you get to do things like that that are out of the ordinary, though, isn't it?
Well, my first job was in between as a busboy.
Oh, really?
And after 2 months of that, I, through some connections, got transferred to the entertainment group and got to play in the parade. And I did that for 3 years and then got a full-time job in the magic shop and then transferred up to WED in 1975. So it's been 50 years.
Wow. Well, you're one of those success stories that Disney could use today, because unfortunately the guys running the place today never came up through the ranks, and I don't think appreciate what was there.
Yeah, I really am glad that I did get to spend the time in the park, work there, and really get a feel of it.
It gives you a whole different perspective, doesn't it?
Yes, it really does.
I love the mule train ride at area out there. I've mentioned before, when the park was closed Mondays and Tuesdays, I would just go walking out there, sit there watching the migrating birds come in on the rivers of America. And it was just so peaceful. You couldn't believe we were in the middle of Orange County.
My friend Larry Pettit used to run those mule rides.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he lives up in Park City now, Park City, Utah, but he still does work for the Disney family, like one of the ranches they have near Jackson Hole.
That's neat.
He has to go there, work.
I love the whole mine train ride, and I thought it was just, going out there again through nature's wonderland with the teetering rocks and the bubbling mud pots and all the rest of that. I have some neat pictures I took walking out there in a day when it was closed. I could walk right up to the animal figures and take shots of them and stuff.
Bill, you need to find a Foley artist to join this group, because they should be itching to put some sound to this.
Yeah, if anybody knows one, we could, they could put in the beep beep of the car coming down the street and that sort of stuff. We're almost near the end of this one.
I'm good at doing animal sounds, Bill, if you.
Oh, great. We'll have you do the Jungle Cruise part.
Okay, good.
I created a lot of the sounds that are in the Jungle Cruise at Disneyland.
You should have gotten Joey to do them for you.
maybe we can have a animal sound competition.
I'm afraid you're in a class by yourself, Joey. We couldn't compete.
I don't know, I could get my dog up near the microphone and put some raw meat in front of her. She'll sound like a pack of hyenas.
Or show them a picture of a mailman.
Yeah, just ring the doorbell. That's all I need to do. Just ring the doorbell.
I'm the growl and the Matterhorn for the snowman.
Oh, are you?
Wow.
Yeah, we had to trick that a little bit, but you hear me when you first get on it, just kind of a grumble. And then when you're up there, the big, figure, we did that. JK and I. Yeah, I have something to show you, Bill. Let me see.
Yeah, you want me? Oh, you got one of the movies there. Yeah. Which one is that?
I'm not on. Now I'm on.
Yeah.
It's at Adventures in Disneyland, New Orleans Square.
Oh, well, I'll just show you how. 1 second here.
Do you have that one?
If I don't step on the dog. Yes, I got that. I don't know if yours is Super 8. Mine's in Standard 8 color. Come here, don't show. And it has a price tag on it. It was sold at SK or whatever the store is. It wasn't Kmart. It was another one. $2.68. This has never been opened yet, so I'm gonna open it up and try my best to restore that one.
Well, if you'd rather, this one is Super 8.
Oh wow, yeah, even better.
And I just pulled a few feet off of it, and it is quite red.
Yeah.
So, but if you want to play with it, you're welcome to it.
Yeah, we'll have to arrange to get together. And again, if you have any of your movies, I'll be glad to do them for you. Yeah, that's what they said. They did these in Standard 8. They did them in Super 8. Some of them they did in Sound. They found many ways to do it. But $2.68 for this little reel.
It's got a lot of interior footage of the Pirates.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah. And I remember when I, years and years ago, I had recorded off the TV, the Pirates of the Caribbean, World of Tomorrow, whatever that TV show was, and then edited the music just like you guys were talking about doing with the Jungle, and had a double system, that I could watch it that way.
That's neat. The things that we do to entertain ourselves, huh?
Yeah, little did I know I'd spend the rest of my life doing that.
Hey, isn't it great though that you have something that you like doing that you can spend the rest of your life? Think how many people got on the train, sat in an office, did paperwork, they hated all day, came back, sat home, they didn't get the enjoyment out of it. I mean, I was really lucky. I loved everything I did up to the day I retired. And I didn't like the office politics, but the work itself was great. And you just come out of it feeling good, as opposed to somebody that does it because they got the mortgage, have to pay it, and they hate it. So 1 second, Brock. Carlos, you had a question. Of those monorail windows open? Yes. The early monorails, that was the one and only air conditioning, was to open the window and get the breeze to come in. So they constantly had to keep going around the track and trim back all the branches and everything, so nobody stuck their hand out and had an arm taken off by hitting anything. The current ones are air conditioned, so it makes a difference in the environment. Brock? You're muted, sir.
Watching that last film, for some reason, it just sparked a memory when they were showing the, even though we talked about them before, the canoe boats. Were you around, and Glenn, you might have been too, when they used to have the canoe races at Disneyland for the employees?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, I was on a team that participated for 2 years where you'd go down there to like 5 o'clock in the morning and race around before they opened the park, against other groups, most of them from the park. And of course, the ones that won it most of the time were the guys that did the canoes all the time at the park, because they knew exactly how to get around the course the fastest. But it was a lot of fun to participate in that.
I did it several years. One, I was, they had to have a male be the steerer for some reason. That was the rule, even if on an all-girls team. And so the gals down on Main Street had a team called Ladies of the Street, and I was the steerer for that. And we always used to have fun coming up with these crazy names that were a little bit risque. And my favorite was the Mickey's Master Boaters. And then there was the, from the Coke Corner, there was Coke Strokers. And in the magic shop, we had, our team was called the Crystal Ballers because we had crystal balls that we sold in there. And we got disqualified because we ran into the dock, but I wasn't the steerer on that one.
I did it exactly once. There was somebody at the studio had a team that wanted to do it. And I got up and I realized I had to leave my house at something like 4 o'clock in the morning, drive down there, do the race. And now I'm supposed to work the whole rest of the day and stay awake. Yeah. And I was trying to figure out how I could, schedule my day to be working at the park that day. But it happened that I was doing a project. I had to be over at the studio or maybe over at WED. So I'd have to drive all the way down there and then fight all the rush hour traffic back into LA to go back. And I said, that's it. It wasn't that much fun for me. So one time around the course was enough for me.
Well, I lived in Cerritos, which is about 10 minutes away, and I was working the night shift. And we would get off and then just go to somebody's house and party all night and then come back at 5 in the morning and do the race. And then they would have the Riverbell Terrace open for us for breakfast. And we'd be sitting there having breakfast, watching these, when they did the rope drop and watching all these people running to get to Pirates or something and seeing us there eating and going, what's going on? So that was a lot of fun. And then you just go home and sleep all day and then go back to work. So it worked out good.
It worked out great for you. I had to stay awake all day and I did not like it. I am not a morning person.
Yeah, we were the same way. We had to be back at WDI and work. We got to get in an hour late. I think we did it at 9 o'clock. We were normally there at 8 o'clock because fighting the traffic, coming back across from Disneyland was not going to be fun, and it wasn't. But going was easy because you get there right, no traffic at all because nobody else was up and running at the point. But there was a lot of fun to participate in, and it was kind of a kick.
Oh, it was so neat to be in the park when it was so quiet and empty too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because even on Mondays and Tuesdays when you were there was still other people around. When you got down for the canoe race, there was nobody else around. But yeah, I was living in Burbank at the time, and I still remember from the studio to Burbank or studio to Disneyland and back was 75 miles on your expense report. So 37.5 miles in each direction. It's funny the things you remember, but I can't remember, when they changed it from something like 8 cents a mile to 9 cents a mile credit or whatever they gave us. It was a monumental increase, But when you were doing it 5-6 days a week, it was a nice extra check to get for your expenses.
Yeah.
So, and I mentioned earlier when I went down to Disney World, they had a thing where they would basically encourage you to do everything there at the park, and then you would write a management evaluation form of, sort of like a secret shopper program. So I would go off and do, the horseback ride, or I'd go water skiing, or try to teach me how to sail a sailboat, or, and then I need to eat dinner at the, what you call it, Empress Lily, or, that sort of stuff. So it was really great fun to go and do that, and then fill out a 1-page report, how was the water skiing today, and just attach to my expense report, and I was done. Then when I went back on my own dime, it wasn't quite as appealing to go and do all those things, but it was a great thing to have for a time. Well, I appreciate everybody joining. And again, if anybody has their own movies of theme parks, World's Fairs, stuff like that, it's a friendly crowd. I'm sure they'd all love to see it. So drag out the old 8mm VHS-Cs, old Betamaxes, and that. I'm going to go and start going through my things of film before all the playback gear burns out. That's the trouble. You have all this technology, and it's one stupid 5-cent capacitor burns out, you're screwed. So it's the way it goes. So appreciate everybody joining, and I am working on a topic for next week. And again, thanks for coming and eating pancakes, Brock. I hope you enjoyed the pancakes last week.
Yes, they were good, and so was the sausage.
Oh, good. So, yeah, and if anybody is out in LA next year, come and join us for more pancakes. So it was great fun last week. So enjoy the week, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
Thanks, Bill.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Bye now. Happy Mother's Day, everyone.
Thanks, Joey. Same to your wife.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to see everybody again.
Thanks. Bye, Darren.